is by far one of the most desired roles for any mezzo or contralto. If you allow the comparison, we could say that La Traviata or Mimi is to the sopranos what Carmen and Dalila would be for mezzos and contraltos. And in the same way that we have shared in the past, what are the difficulties or the type of voice that is needed to sing Dalila, I would like to start by saying, or coming back to the comment that we have had in the past, that for this role, usually for mezzos who have not a very well, who have not developed very well their low register, who do not have enough pasta in their voice, they tend to sound weak. And this role tires them a lot because Dalila is written for a good amount of time, not only to sing some high notes, which are not really high indeed, but there are plenty of low notes. The female voice needs to sing a good amount of time in the center and lower register, which, if you don't have a well developed voice, of course, it matters. And so that's why I go back to my comment again that provided that not all mezzos feel so sure in that area of their voices, that's why a good number of contraltos, or a good number of great singers have gone for the role of Dalila. Unfortunately, I think that life has not been, I wouldn't like to say generous, but I would like to say at least fair. Dalila is, or Sansoni Dalila is not represented, not even half or a third of numbers as Carmen. Provide, and I would like to share with you today that Sansone Dalila has a good amount of numbers that make it a very interesting opera to watch. In the season, if I remember, season 5, where we had our Parlons d'eux, we have already had the conversation that still many people consider Sansone e Dalila rather an oratorio than an opera. So we are not going back to that discussion again. We are taking as point of departure that it is an opera by Maestro Camille Saint-Saëns, and let's name the difficulties of Dalila. We have already mentioned that she sings way too often in the center and in the low registers, and even though many people take into account, of course, the Mon cœur s'ouvre à ta voix, which is the episode that recently aired this week, truth is that Dalila has several very interesting and beautiful, impressive and beautiful moments throughout the whole opera. In the first act, we have her Printemps qui commence, which translates barely as spring is starting. This is, from my perspective, the actual or the true seduction aria because this is the time she actually meets or Sanson realizes of the existence of Dalila. Somehow it's like the moment when Don José realizes Carmen exists. It is L'amour est un oiseau rebelle. It is with L'amour est un oiseau rebelle in Carmen, which makes Don José realize that Carmen exists. It is Printemps qui commence, key in this opera, Sansone e Dalila, which makes Sanson realize of the existence of Dalila. And Dalila, and this has been noticed by the priest of Dagon. So the priest has this conversation with Dalila, telling her that she can be used, her resources can be used in the favor of their people because Sanson, as you may already know, at least for people from Western cultures, know that Sanson in the Bible in the Bible is a character that has great strength. with the favor of God. Of course, God has given Samson great strength, which he uses to free his people. So, with that in mind, and provided that they cannot fight directly Samson, they know that there is a secret and that there is a way they can take away that strength from Samson, and that's what Dalila is going to get. She needs to get or to find that secret. So, in the second act, well, she has made these arrangements with the priest in the first act. In the second act, she will open with Amour vient de ma faiblesse, because at some point she feels like she will not be able to fulfill the task. While Printemps qui commence is a very sensual, beautiful melody, which I think at some point, or that I hope at some point, you all have heard. It goes like un temps qui commence. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. That's pretty much the melody of Dalila. Then in Amour viene de ma faiblesse, a little brief, but with much more drama in the second act, which evolves toward a new duet with the priest, where she is challenged to obtain one way or the other the secret from Sanson. That is a very dramatic, the very heavy duet between the baritone and Dalila, which is very, very interesting because it happens just before the very well-known aria, the aria that everybody knows, Mon cœur s'ouvre à ta voix, which is going to be the following part. In this area of seduction, Dalila is going to try to get the the secret from Sanson, and she notices that he may not be willing to deliver the secret to her. So that beautiful melody, of which I shared with you a very beautiful example this week uh, evolves, or once it finishes, then there comes this final part where finally Sanson will be vanquished by the power of the seduction of Dalila. So Dalila will leave her tent yelling, À moi, Philistines, à moi, Philistines, come to me. And in some representations on stage, she will bear, or she will have in her hand the hair of Samson, meaning that she actually got the secret from Samson and has managed to cut his hair. She has vanquished, or Samson has been vanquished. And he yells, Treson! He gives his high note as yelling out loud that he has been um, tradito by Dalila. So that's how that act ends. And I would like to share with you, because I have been speaking and speaking and speaking, and I have not shown you that I run into an extraordinary recording of a presentation with a great casting, because in this recording there is John Vickers, the very great tenor John Vickers. For people who don't know, the role of Sanson is for a dramatic tenor. It's a very heavy role for a very heavy voice. So that's John Vickers playing Sanson. Then we have the great Oralia Dominguez that I shared with you in my previous video blog entry, that this is the one that I had found from the studio recording that I didn't like, but hey, I found this one, which is very, very, very good. Oralia Dominguez, the extraordinary contralto that I mentioned in the previous blog entry, that sang Abneri's role with Maria Callas in the 1951 Aida in Mexico City. So now you know the super high notes and the super powerful voice that Oralia Dominguez had. Of course, after that presentation with Maria Callas 1951, Oralia Dominguez relocated in the mid 50s to Europe, where she had a very successful career for half of the 1950s and the 1960s, having sung with Renata Tebaldi, Corelli, Del Monaco, and all the greatest singers of those years. Oralia Dominguez sang with them. We have Ernest Blanc as the high priest, and we have the Netherlands Radio Orchestra directed by Jean Fournet. So it is an extraordinary recording that I would like you to put here as a recommendation because you will be able to listen to the very beautiful pastes voice of Oralia Dominguez. I think the right type of tesitura, as the one that I shared before, the one for Ana Caridad Acosta, and this time Oralia Dominguez, the right type of voice for this extraordinary role of Dalila. And let's listen how she has actually managed to get the secret from Sasson. Thanks for listening and watching.